Welcome to Sage Audio. Today we're covering how to inverse EQ. But first, if you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us at sageaudio.com to receive a free mastered sample of it. Best EQ for inverse EQ. The best equalizer to use for inverse equalization is most likely the FabFilter Pro Q3. I've tried using Isotope Ozone's Match Equalizer and some others, however, they don't seem to offer the needed functionality. Comment below if you know of another one that works well. Let's listen to the mix that we're going to be using this technique on. Picking external sidechain. When you want to use inverse EQ matching, insert the Pro Q3 on one of the two tracks you'd like to separate. Then make the other track the external sidechain. For example, if you want to separate your kick and bass, insert the plugin on either or. Then make the external sidechain the kick if the plugin's on the bass, and vice versa. Let's listen to the kick and bass isolated to hear how they're overlapping currently. Match EQ, and set bands. Now that we have the two tracks routed correctly, hover over the analyzer settings at the bottom and click EQ Match. Then select your external sidechain as the reference. Then push spacebar or play, and the match function will begin to measure the two signals. The white overlay is what the matched curve will look like. Then select Match and decide on the number of bands you want to create before hitting Finish. Let's pick the full 24 and have a quick listen to the matching. This shouldn't sound too good since we're not finished, but it'll give you an indication of what this sounds like so far. Real quick, if you want to see exclusive advanced videos, have priority response to your comments, and get some other future perks, consider joining our channel and becoming a member. Edit matched bands and invert. As we can see, some of our bands are pretty extreme, so I'll change my scaling to 30 dB in the top right, and then begin to delete bands. I'll delete super low and high bands, as well as ones with extreme amplitudes. Then I'll highlight all of my remaining bands. With all of the bands highlighted, I'll use the gain dial to affect all of their amplitudes, in turn inverting their amplitudes. I like to make the amplitude only a few dB. Let's take a listen. Smooth or sharp inverse EQ. Once our EQ curve has been inverted, we're pretty much done. However, there are a couple of other techniques that we can try. For example, if we highlight all of the bands, we can make the curve smoother or sharper with the Q value or the slope value. If you're using this to reduce problem frequencies, try a higher Q value and a 96 dB per octave slope. Try the opposite for a more musical sound. Let's take a listen. Linear or natural phase inverse EQ. Another thing to consider is the phase settings that we choose. With all of these bands, we're changing the phase of the EQ's internal filters, making the curve slightly less accurate, which is problematic since it kind of defeats the purpose. To remedy this, use a low latency linear phase setting. Or, if you want a slightly more natural sound, try the natural phase setting, which emulates the phase shifts caused by analog equalizers. Let's listen to both to see if we notice much of a difference. Dynamic inverse EQ. One way to make inverse equalization more interesting is to make the bands dynamic. To do this, highlight the band, right-click, and make it dynamic. If you choose to use this effect, I'd move the curves closer to unity and let the dynamic aspect do the work. Let's listen to regular versus dynamic inverse equalization while using a low latency linear phase setting. One more time, if you want to see exclusive advanced videos, have priority response to your comments, and get some other great future perks, consider joining our channel and becoming a member. Mid-side inverse EQ. Unfortunately, the Pro Q3 doesn't let you match the signals on a mid and side basis, at least not in a way I've found without creating mid and side versions of my tracks. Regardless, we can change some of the bands to mid and side for a creative effect. For my lows, I'll make positive bands mid and negative ones side. For the highs, I'll do the opposite. Let's take a listen. Super quick inverse EQ. If all of this seems like a headache or you simply don't want to purchase the Pro Q3, there is another option. You can use a plugin called TrackSpacer by Wave Factory to perform dynamic inverse equalization, which causes a similar effect to some of the methods that we detailed earlier. Just use the external sidechain like we did earlier, and the plugin separates the two in real time. Let's take a listen to it. If you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us at sageaudio.com to receive a free mastered sample of it. Also, join and become a member for exclusive videos and content. Thank you so much for watching.